what is hiding in those weak and drunken hearts. Guess he kissed the girls and made them cry, those hard-faced queens of misadventure. God knows what is hiding in those weak and sunken lines. Fiery throngs of muted angels giving love but getting nothing back. Oh, peace.
How long have you been teaching children with autism?
Okay, I've been working with children with autism for about 4 years.
How do you think society views children with autism?
I believe society views children with autism much differently than they did about 10 years ago. Now they're just another child on their child's soccer team or another kid on the playground, so I believe the views are positive now.
Should children with autism be mainstreamed into regular classroom?
I think definitely. I think any student, if they have the capabilities to be mainstream, they should. And a child with autism, if they do have an individualized education plan, maybe they just need resource, but if they can function in a mainstream, definitely.
How do you think children with autism should be taught?
I believe they should be taught by any other student. Any student needs something, some accommodations. So if they need a visual schedule, get the visual schedule. If they need different sensory breaks, have the sensory breaks for them. It's like every student, you have to individualize it to make them succeed.
How do you think society views how children with autism should be taught?
I believe we're growing. If you would have asked this question in the 70s and the 80s, the view was the small bus in a specialized instruction. Children with autism are capable of doing anything that anyone could do. They can go on the bus, they can go into the classrooms, they're invited to parties. So I think society has a different view now, and they're more welcoming and accepting.
Do you think society views children with autism in a positive or negative way?
I believe positive, but you know there's always people in society that are negative and are stereotype, which it makes me very sad because once they get to know that child, they're just that child. For example, let's say Becky who has autism. Once you know her personality and you learn to love her, she's just Becky. That doesn't matter if she has autism or not.
What similarities do you see between children with autism and children without autism?
Oh, everything. They have bad days. Children with autism have bad days. Children without autism have bad days. They have different learning techniques. They have different subjects they like. There's all similarities. And maybe, the one thing that's the difference is they learn in different ways, or you have to speak to them in different ways, but they're just the child.
All right, thank you very much.
You.
People, help the people. And if you're homesick, give me your hand and I'll hold it. People, help the people. Nothing will drag you down. Oh, and if I had to bring, oh, and if I had to bring.
Okay. How long have you been teaching children with autism?
This is my second year teaching children with autism, but I have done a day camp since I was 15, so since then.
How do you think society views children with autism?
I think it's very different. Some people that are working with children with autism, or they have a relative that has children with autism, I think they have a good connection with them, but other people that are unaware, or they're not familiar with it, or they haven't been invited into that community, I think they are shocked, or they just don't know how to act. They don't know how to be themselves. They're not comfortable around it.
Should children with autism be mainstreamed into a regular classroom?
I think every child has a chance to be mainstreamed. It just depends on the classroom and the other school environment, and if the children and the other teachers are accepting into it.
How do you think children with autism should be taught?
Every child is different, but children with autism are maybe taught the same ways. I know that they do have different qualities and different personalities, but you could still teach them the same type of subjects, and you might just have to give them more breaks, but they do a great job of learning, and some of them have very high IQ scores. And
how do you think society views how children with autism should be taught?
How would society? Well, again, I think people have different views on children with autism. Some people, like I said, are familiar with them, and so they're fine with it. But other people, like I said, they're just not aware. They've never been around that setting before, so I think they're uncomfortable. But like I said, every child's different, and everyone should be just accepting to what the society or what the children are. I don't think that's good.
Do you think society views children with autism in a positive or negative way?
Again, I think it's about the person, if they've had experience with them. I think of it as a positive way because I'm a teacher and I teach children with autism, but someone that has not been in the setting, they might think of it as a negative way, or they might not be feeling comfortable around it. They might feel out of place. But again, they're just children, and you should love them for who they are.
What similarities do you see between children with autism and children without autism?
There's a lot of similarities. They love to have fun like every child does. But they also have, different quirks, or something might set them off like a normal child. They love to have friends. They love to play. But different things is that maybe the lights or sounds bother them when others don't even hear that. They also might not like the taste of different foods, but then again, some people don't. They can be picky about what food they eat. So there's similarities and differences.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be cold as a stone, rich as a fool. It turned all those good hearts away. God knows what is hiding in this world of little consequence. Behind the tears, inside the lies, 1,000 slowly dying sunsets. God knows what is hiding.
How do you think society views children with autism?
How do I what?
How do you think society views children with autism?
I have found, especially in the past few years, that people are very, very welcoming to them, very accepting of them. I also work part-time for Jewel, and the Jewel hires a lot of people with disabilities, and including autism. And I'll tell you, usually they're higher functioning. I know they have lower functioning. I've never had one that was not too nice. Usually they're friendly, they're nice, they're quirky. Sometimes I call it, like they'll be obsessed with money, numbers, time. They might have to be like, that's why I have, not so much now, but I have had, what I have up now, I've had charts where it tells them everything in the day that they're going to do, and if you stray from that, sometimes it's not very accepting to them. They get very just out of ordinary. They have to have everything set. Even me, they walk in the morning and they know exactly what to do. I always tease them how they could run the classroom by themselves. They know exactly what's expected, what to do, how to do it. They can tell you where everything is. They're very self-sufficient. But the autistic kids, they're very, very nice to work with, and I think society, I think it's different than how when I was a kid. I think people are very accepting of them, very accepting of them.
Should children with autism be mainstreamed into a regular classroom?
I think they should. Of course, there's limits to that. The ones that I have worked with, some of them could not do it. And there's a variety of reasons. One student I had last year couldn't unless there was an adult with him to help him along. Because although the children are very, very accepting and nice to him, he couldn't get necessarily from point 1 to point 2 by himself. And sometimes kids, they don't know what to do. It makes them kind of nervous. They're like, well, I don't know, I'm trying to help them, but they don't understand what they're trying to do. This boy wasn't very verbal. He also, everything would intrigue him. If you were trying to do plants, he'd probably be in the mud right now. And he wouldn't understand to step back and do this and do that. It was a little different. And sometimes you just have to, my kind of theory is you have to like when they go to PE, an autistic boy, a lot of times the surroundings, noise, bothers them. And I kind of look at it like, if that's their version of running, how they run, let them do it, because that's how they see it. And, no one's going to get mad at them for it. They should be able to do it like that.
And how do you think children with autism should be taught?
They have to be taught what best helps them. Some of them need, like I said, talking devices. Some of them are very visual. Some of them cannot, and it's not because they physically can't write, but that attention span isn't there. They may not like it. Some of them are just amazed with computers, but they could wander and all of a sudden go into different programs. But I'm not here to make them to write, for example. I have to know that they know how, because in life you do have to write. You have to sign your name somewhere. But if the computers is the way to go, then that's how they should be taught. If it's more visual and they can answer me and not write something down, and then I'll document it, that they did answer it and how they answered it for me, so that people know that they are learning and they are effectively answering the questions correctly, then that's how I work with them. It's kind of like what makes them work for them.
How do you think society views children with autism?
Like I said before, I think they're very accepting. I really do. I think adults, I think other children. I don't think it's like in the olden days. I remember when I was growing up, they were put in rooms where you wouldn't see them. It could be, I remember going to the elementary school where the rooms were downstairs, like in a basement. But it was nice like this. It was fixed up. They came on at different times in the buses, dismissal, arrival, because you didn't want to see them because they were different. Today, I could be different from somebody. We all have our quirky stuff. I don't like to sit, for example, at a table. If someone was sitting right next to me, you would see me doing this. I like my personal space. I don't like to be real close. When I go to conferences, I'm usually always on the end because I need my space. So we all have our little quirks, I think, about us.
What similarities do you see between children with autism and children without autism?
I think they're just all kids. They just learn in different ways. And that's what society needs to accept. And I think they do. I really do think they do. But everyone learns in a different way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In those weak and drunken hearts, guess the loneliness came knocking. No one needs to be alone, no singing. People, help the people. And if you're homesick, give me your hand and I'll hold it. People, help the people. Nothing will drag you down. Oh, and if I had to bring, I'd be cold as a stone.